In this video, I want to talk with you about who's going to fall. You should have some sort of understanding about the characteristics of people who fall. And one of the things that I say to you guys often is there's one thing that can take you out. One thing, if you're not dealing with, that will take you out. Now, I posted a video a little while ago entitled, Why No One Repents After the Fifth Trumpet. And one of the things that God was showing me today is that the reason no one repents after the fifth trumpet is because of what is prophesied in Isaiah regarding the hardening and the razor of judgment that he speaks of in Isaiah 7. The razor of judgment being the king of Assyria. And we learn also about that in Ezekiel 5. But in Isaiah 6, he says, Go to this people and tell them, be ever hearing but never understanding. Be ever seeing but never perceiving. Make the heart of this people calloused. Make their ears dull and close their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. And then Isaiah asks him, well, for how long, Lord? And God answers him, until the cities lie ruined and without inhabitant, until the houses are left deserted and the fields ruined and ravaged, until the Lord has sent everyone far away and the land is utterly forsaken. And though a tenth remains in the land, it will again be laid waste. But as the terebinth and oak leave stumps when they're cut down, so the holy seed will be the stump in the land. So he's letting Isaiah know that he's not going to allow them to turn. He says, otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. So he's not going to allow them to return to him, to, repent, essentially. Now, I know a lot of you guys think that you have all day and for eternity, you can just return to God, but that is not true. That's not the reality of it. There comes a time when he is no longer going to allow you to return to him because you've taken him for granted. Now, I was, speaking with my daughter about this, and she was asking and talking with her. She knows that God has been talking with me about this razor of judgment and why it needs to be brought. And the reason it needs to be brought right now is because the Antichrist is going to rise next year. And when the Antichrist rises, first of all, we know no one repents from that time on. But second of all, everybody who's going to be saved needs to have returned by that time. And since no one's returning, he has to bring more judgment in order to motivate people to actually return to him. And so that's why he brings that razor of judgment. But the way that he's shaving you down is through hardening. And what she said to me is, are you reading that from Isaiah or are you getting it from Matthew 13? And I said, well, from Isaiah 6. And she said, that's interesting because in Matthew 13, it talks about the parable of the sower. And the parable of the sower explains this phenomenon very, very clearly. So it's going to make me forever look at Matthew 13 totally differently because God is so brilliant the way that he puts this together. So in Matthew 13, it says, that same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. Now, why does he speak in parable? Because he's looking to see who has been given eyes to see and a heart to understand what the message is in the parable of the sower. Those who are listening with their carnality, they're not circumcised, are they? If you are living in the heart and spirit, you're going to be able to hear God and you're going to be able to understand. But if you're living in the flesh, because you're not circumcised, you will never understand. Why do I say heart and spirit? Because God says when he makes you a new creation, he removes your heart of stone, places in you a heart of flesh. He places his spirit in your heart and he moves you to follow his laws and keep his decrees. You're going to be justified by your heart. God is spirit, so he's going to communicate to you from his spirit to your spirit, from your spirit to his spirit. But as far as the heart is concerned, that's where you're going to be justified on the last day. So that's the place where he's doing that work. And that is the reason he had me write those books of my testimony, not of scripture, of my testimony in Heart Known series and in A Soul Aligned. Heart Known series being the workbook, both books offered to you for free. This is not a pitch for me to make money off of you. Both books offered to you for free. That is the reason he has me sharing my testimony with you of what that looks like, because you don't seem to have any examples, because I haven't seen any examples of people who are actually applying the word and then sharing with others what that's like. I have done that, and he raised me to do that. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seeds, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. The disciples came to him and asked, why do you speak to the people in parables? He replied, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have in abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing they do not see, though hearing they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing but never understanding. You will be ever seeing but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. Okay, so he's answered the question of why he speaks to them in parable. But there's something else that's implied here. There is only one situation that's going to be saved. There's only one situation that's going to bear a crop, and you better bear a crop or you're not going to be saved. Remember Paul talks about that? The one who bears a crop for those to whom it's farmed for Jesus and the Lord, Jesus and the Father. That's the one who receives the blessing of God. Those who produce thorns and briars are not going to be saved. So he goes on to say, but blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see but did not see it, and hear what you hear but did not hear it. Listen to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. Case 1, that is not saved. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. So many. But since they have no root, it's shallow, it's superficial, guys. They last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. So many. And so many who, I don't know what they were thinking, that they were not going to be exposed. I mean, if you discern what it is that I'm doing, you should understand that at some point God is going to have me probably confronting you, because that's part of what he has me doing right now as a witness. And that's the reason he sends his prophets. If you loathe discipline, that's your problem. God said to Ezekiel, if I tell you to speak a message, you need to speak that message, or their blood is going to be on your head. You think I'm going to spare your feelings and put both of us in that position? No way. So when people are exposed, this is exactly what happens. And you know what's so disgusting? Many times the things they're exposed for are basic things like, why are you working on the Sabbath? Why are you not regularly showing up to Sabbath? Because you can't be with us if you're not committed. That means you're not circumcised. Why is it that you have been with us for 3 years and we're just learning that you have a child at home that you're not bearing, that you allow to come in and out of your home like you have a flop house going on over there? Do you not realize that you have to have your house in order, or you will never serve in God's house? Why is this the situation? And instead of people going and returning to God, which is what is suggested to them, I'm not driving anyone away. They run because we just expose the one thing they're unwilling to deal with. Now, is this because I enjoy exposing people? Not really, guys. I don't really enjoy people getting angry with me and rejecting me. It's not like my cup of tea. This is what I'm required to do. So when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. I mean, this would include needing to submit to your boss the days that you need to take off for Sabbaths, new moons, and holy days. If he commands you to obey, will he not make a way? Or do you believe Do you believe that he will make a way? Because that's the issue, is that there's no belief. What are the things that I've done in belief and am still waiting for him to fulfill? Don't act like I have asked you to do something more than what I've done, putting my very livelihood on the line, and yet still waiting for him to fulfill. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Why? Because they had shallow roots. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. They return back to Egypt, okay? They don't trust that the life that God has told them to live, which he said, you're going to suffer for him. It's not as though he didn't warn you, you just didn't believe. You didn't believe he was really serious. You didn't take him seriously. You're going to suffer. And he says the very people who kill you are going to claim to be doing a service to God. And he says, don't fear those who kill the body, but fear the one who kills both soul and body in hell. Do you take him seriously? Because, he's not really wasting his breath. He means what he says. He's not a man that he should lie. The seed falling on the good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. Who are the ones who are going to fall? The ones who are going to fall are those who don't understand the message. God is not the liar. We are. He says he will not turn away anyone who comes to him. So if you don't understand the message, it's because you haven't brought it to him and you have not loved him to pursue his heart so that you can understand the message. The second example of the one who's going to fall is the one who receives it with joy, receives all the good news. But since they have no root, they don't plant this in their hearts. It's superficially accepted. It's not applied. It's not obeyed. It's not something that you're meditating your heart on to really get it in there. It's shallow roots. You didn't plant it deep enough. And so when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they fall away. The third person who's going to fall are those who hear the word, but they don't trust God. The worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. Because they hear it, but they don't trust him. And the thing is, it takes a lot of work to actually trust God. There's a lot that you have to do on a daily basis in order to work your heart there, especially when he's putting you through the fire. Then you're doing it several times a day. And if you are not observing Sabbath and entering his rest, I don't see how you could possibly trust him. You don't trust him enough to obey what he has commanded you to do. And then you're not relating with him in your covenant to enter his rest. These are the people who are going to fall. Those who don't trust him, who don't obey him, who don't seek and pursue him, who don't live in the heart and spirit, but are uncircumcised and continue to live in their flesh. Therefore, they cannot understand. Because God ain't speaking to you there. He's not going to have a covenant with you in which he says, be circumcised in heart from the sinful flesh, discipline your physical flesh, your mind and body. In the new covenant, I take out your heart of stone and I place in you a heart of flesh, a softened heart. I place my spirit in your heart. I'm speaking to you from spirit to spirit. We know that in John 4 because it says God is spirit. And true worshipers must worship him in the truth and in the spirit. And we're told that we're going to be justified by our hearts. So if that's not where we're living, speaking with God from our spirit to his spirit, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, receiving his ministry, his daily bread, he is the bread of life, receiving that in our hearts where we're going to be justified. If that's not how we're living, we're going to fall. The seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. And if you understand it, you're going to obey it. You're going to be changed. There's no way for you to be the same creation that you were when you got baptized or heard the word. You have to be on an upward trajectory of growth if indeed you are truly understanding what the word says and what the Spirit says. And the very next sentence tells you that you've got to produce a crop. And so, Paul says in Hebrews 6:7, land that drinks in the rain, often falling on it, and that produces a crop useful to those for whom it is farmed, receives the blessing of God. But land that produces thorns and thistles is worthless and is in danger of being cursed. In the end, it will be burned. If you're working the land, you understand that metaphor very well. If you're not working the land, you need to lean into what it means. These are those who are going to fall. These are those who are being shaved off in that razor of judgment through hardening. That's how you're being shaved off. Jesus knew who were his by who could understand. And when Peter declared him to be the Son of God, he acknowledged it. He said, blessed are you, Peter, because you didn't receive that from man. You received that from God. I hope you'll heed the warning and discern this message with God.